Welcome to our book club where we dive into the issues facing our children in the digital age. So today we're going to be exploring chapter 2 of Jonathan Haidt's book, The Anxious Generation. And this chapter talks about what children need to do in childhood. And we'll see how free play is not just fun, but it's also necessary for a child's social, cognitive, and emotional development. Next, we'll look at attunement, connecting to the movements and emotions of others, and how it is imperative for later emotional self-regulation. And finally, we'll discuss social learning, where kids observe, imitate, and interact with others in a social context, and how social media is changing that dynamic. So before we dive in, let me tell you a story, a moment that many of us have likely experienced. Jennifer is a mom just like you and me. One afternoon, Jennifer was at the playground with her 6-year-old son, Ben. It was one of those days when she could see him exploring something new, trying a course on a wobbly wooden bridge on the obstacle course. And as Jennifer sat on the bench, she felt her heart jump a little. Every time Ben hesitated or wobbled, her instinct told her to call out, "Hold on tight," or maybe even walk over and guide him across. But this time she decided to hold back. She reminded herself that Ben was safe, and it was a challenge that he could handle on his own. At first, Ben gripped the ropes tightly, his eyes fixed on the gaps between the planks. He slipped a little and stumbled, but he caught himself. Jennifer stayed still, holding her breath as he figured out his next move. Slowly, Ben adjusted his grip, bent his knees a little for better balance, and carefully made his way across. When he reached the other side, his face lit up and he yelled, "I'm..." Later, as they drove home, Ben couldn't stop talking about his adventure on the bridge. "Mom, I thought I was going to fall, but I figured it out by myself," he said with such pride. Jennifer realized something really powerful. If she had stepped in, Ben might have crossed the bridge faster, maybe even without fear. But he wouldn't have experienced the thrill of solving a problem and overcoming it on his own. That was his moment of growth, not just physically, but emotionally too. Jennifer's story reminds us of something we all know deep down. Our children need opportunities to face challenges, take risks, and experience failure so they can grow. It's natural to want to shield them from harm, whether it's a scraped knee or a bruised ego. But in doing so, we sometimes deny them the chance to learn about their own strength and resilience. It says on page 52, and I'm going to read it to you, that play with some degree of physical risk is essential because it teaches children how to look after themselves and each other. Children can only learn how not to get hurt in situations where it's possible to get hurt. Play isn't just fun. It's a critical part of how children develop socially, cognitively, and emotionally. Research shows that play, especially the kind with some degree of risk, is where they will learn how to navigate the world. And yes, sometimes they stumble, but these stumbles are where the real growth happens. On page 54, Haidt said smartphones and tablets in the hands of children could be called experience blockers. I'm going to read this to you. He says this happens at the cost of reducing the kinds of experiences humans have fought for, and that they must have in abundance to become socially functional adults. It's as if we gave infants iPads loaded with movies about walking, but the movies were so engrossing that kids never put in the time or effort to practice walking. And he calls us a generation moving away from the real world and into the virtual, thanks to the combination of smartphones, social media, multiplayer video games, and high-speed wireless internet. And this reminds me of another story about Jack. So Jack is 12 years old, and he loved playing Legends of the Realm. He was a pro at building fortresses and defeating monsters in the game. But when his dad suggested that they go on a hike one weekend, Jack was not thrilled. "Why hike when I can have adventures in my game?" he mumbled. On the trail, Jack was not impressed until they reached a fallen tree stretching over a creek. His dad smiled and said, "Think you can cross it?" And this reminded Jack of the obstacle course in his game, so he climbed up and started walking across. He wobbled halfway, nearly losing his balance, but he steadied himself and made it safely to the other side. "Yeah, that was awesome," he shouted, feeling triumphant. As they hiked, Jack began noticing other challenges: steep hills, slippery rocks, and a stream to navigate. By the end, he was exhilarated. "This was like Legends of the Realm," he said, "but better." He told his dad, "I felt the wind, the sun, and how tricky it was to balance. It was real." Jack learned something that day. Screens can entertain, but they can't replace the thrill of real-life challenges and adventures. From then on, he made time for both, balancing his love of gaming with real-world quests that made him feel like a true hero. And I would recommend reading this story to your child and then ask them this question. If you were Jack, would you have gone on the hike? Why or why not? Get it, moms and dads, letting go is hard, but every stumble and hesitation is a step toward growth. You're raising future adults who need confidence and independence to navigate this world. Whether it's a wobbly bridge or a fallen tree, let your kids face challenges. Step back, cheer them on, and watch them discover their strength. That's what parenting is about, guiding them to find their wings and watching them learn to fly. So let me offer you some simple things that you can do with your child. First, encourage play that challenges. Find spaces where your child can play freely and safely, taking risks. This might be at a playground, a sporting activity, or even climbing a tree in the backyard. Unstructured play allows them to test their limits. Second, let them lead. When your child encounters a challenge, resist the urge to jump in immediately. Instead, cheer them on for the sideline. You can say things like, "Hey, see that you're working hard," or "How are you planning to get across that, whatever the obstacle is?" Number 3, normalize problem solving. When something doesn't work out, help them to think through it. Ask, "Well, what could you try next time?" And this shifts the focus from failure to learning. And model resilience. Share your own stories of growth. Talk about a time when you faced a challenge and what you learned from it. Kids love hearing about that even adults have to work through hard things. So, as we've seen, real-life play and challenges are vital for building resilience and confidence in children. But there is another layer to consider: the deep connections that are formed when children interact with others, both emotionally and physically. And this brings us to the concept of attunement. So attunement is about tuning into the movements, emotions, and expressions of others. Think about how a baby lights up when an adult mimics their smile, or how siblings burst out in laughter while mirroring each other's silly faces. Jonathan Haidt highlights how attunement lays the groundwork for a child's ability to understand and manage their own feelings while forming strong, healthy relationships. These moments of connection are essential for building social bonds, and yet smartphones often interrupt them. Too often, parents allow the pings of notifications to interrupt their time with their children, missing opportunities to deepen their bond. Each time we engage in genuine, undistracted interaction, we strengthen social connections by learning to read and respond to one another's facial expressions and emotions. Children especially thrive in moments of synchrony, such as clapping hands or jump roping songs, where they match each other's movements and rhythms in playful harmony. As Haidt points out on page 57, synchronous face-to-face physical interactions and rituals are a deep, ancient, and underappreciated part of human evolution. Adults enjoy them, and children need them for healthy development. These moments of connection are crucial for a child's growth. Now, the rise of social media has shifted children's time away from these critical interactions. By 2014, Haidt notes, nearly a third of teen girls were spending over 20 hours a week on social media, engaging in asynchronous interactions, creating content for platforms, and consuming content created by others. This amounts to more than 2 hours a day, time that is no longer spent building bonds with friends in person. So it's no surprise that by the 2010s, many teens began to feel lonely and starved for genuine connection. The digital world is no substitute for face-to-face synchrony that children need to thrive emotionally and socially. The lesson for parents: prioritize real-world synchronous interactions with your children. Be intentional about creating uninterrupted moments of connection, whether it's through play, conversation, or shared rituals. These interactions aren't just enjoyable, they are vital for your child's growth, fostering the skills and emotional resilience they need to navigate the complexity of relationships and life. So, I've been sharing stories that you can share with your child to help bring home each point. And here is another one. It is called the Out of Tune Band. There was a middle school band known for their amazing performances. The band was led by Mr. Harmon, a kind but strict teacher who always reminded the students of one thing: the key to making music isn't just playing your instrument, it's listening to everyone else. So one day, the band got a new drummer named Maya. And Maya loved music, but she was shy and didn't talk much during practice. Instead of watching the other players or listening to their instruments, she kept her eyes on her drum set and focused on playing her part perfectly. During rehearsal, the music didn't sound quite right, and no one could figure out why. Mr. Harmon asked Maya to stay after practice one day. Maya, you are a talented drummer, but when you play alone, the music doesn't flow. Music is about connection, and you have to listen to the other players, feel their rhythm, and play together. The next day, Mr. Harmon had an idea. Let's try an experiment, he told the band. He paired each musician with a partner and asked them to clap in rhythm, in sync with each other. At first, everyone was kind of out of time, and Maya felt awkward. But as they kept going, she began to watch her partner's hands and listen carefully. Soon, their clapping matched perfectly. It felt like magic. Everyone started laughing and smiling as the whole band fell into rhythm. When the practice resumed, Maya played her drums differently. She watched the flute players, listened to the trumpets, and fell in beat with the bass. This time, the music flowed beautifully. The band sounded amazing. Maya realized, just like music, life is about connections. When we pay attention to each other, whether through words, expressions, or even clapping, we create something greater than ourselves. And for Maya, she not only became a better drummer, but also a better teammate and friend. After reading the story, you can ask your child, have you ever been part of a team or group where everyone had to work together? How did it feel when you were all in sync? So here's some simple advice for parents. Number one, be present. Put phones away and give your full attention during time with your child. Number two, limit screen time. Create screen-free zones or times, maybe during meals or in car rides, to focus on real conversations. Number three, model empathy. Reflect your child's emotions to show you understand them, teaching them to do the same for others. And number four, foster friendships. Support in-person play dates or team activities to build social skills and connections. Now, attunement teaches children how to connect deeply with others, but there's still more to this puzzle. Children also learn through observing and imitating others. And this process is known as social learning and is how kids develop the skills and knowledge they need to navigate relationships and thrive in their communities. However, with the rise of social media and digital communication, much of this learning is shifting online. So let's explore how social learning works, why it's critical, and the impact of replacing face-to-face interactions with virtual ones. So Jonathan Haidt emphasizes on page 59 how social media has become a powerful conformity engine, shaping adolescents' view of acceptable behavior with unprecedented speed and efficiency. So unlike parents who may need years instilling values or guiding behavior, social media platforms can redefine norms in hours. And Haidt highlights on page 61 how influencers who gain fame primarily through virtual achievements often model behaviors and attitudes that may not translate well into real-world environments such as workplaces or families. And he points out that since the early 2010s, many Gen Z girls have directed their attention to a small group of female influencers who excel at building online followings, but may not provide healthy or diverse role models. Similarly, many Gen Z boys are influenced by male figures promoting extreme and often impractical visions of masculinity. And we've all seen this happening, and it's hard not to feel frustrated or even helpless as parents. This shift has diverted adolescents' social learning systems away from meaningful real-world mentorship and toward virtual role models who often lack the depth and relevance needed to guide young people towards success in their communities. And I understand it's challenging for all of us to counteract this trend when the pull of these platforms feels so overwhelming. Here's a lesson for parents. While it's challenging to compete with the pull of social media, it's crucial to guide children towards meaningful, face-to-face interactions and real-world role models who can provide the depth and relevance needed for long-term success. So here's another story to share with your child to help them understand this point a little better. 12-year-old Jake loved soccer. He wasn't the best on the team, but he practiced every chance he got, and he looked up to his coach, Coach Miller, for advice. So Coach Miller was always saying, soccer is more than just kicking a ball. It's about teamwork, learning from mistakes, and growing stronger. One day, Jake discovered a soccer influencer online. This guy could do amazing tricks like juggling the ball and scoring impossible goals. Jake started watching all of his videos and trying to copy his moves. It was fun at first, but soon Jake became obsessed. He spent hours practicing alone, perfecting tricks instead of skills Coach Miller had taught him. At practice, Jake started showing off his tricks, but his teammates were not impressed. In fact, they looked frustrated. During games, Jake's focus was on flashy moves, that so much so that he missed passes and opportunities to help his team. After practice one day, Coach Miller pulled Jake aside and said, "What's going on out there?" Jake sighed. I just want to be like the soccer influencer I watch. He's so good and everyone loves him." Coach Miller nodded. "I get it. These tricks are fun to watch. But do you think that's what makes a great soccer player? Soccer is about impressing people. It's about working with your team and playing smart. The best players don't show off. They make their teammates better." Jake thought about it and realized Coach Miller was right. The influencer's tricks looked cool online, but they weren't helping him improve as a player or teammate. Jake decided to refocus on learning from his coach and practicing with his team. Over time, he became more confident and skilled, and his team started winning games. It's easy to admire people we see online, but they don't always show us what works in real life. Watching is fine, but we need to remind our kids to listen to the people who can help them grow in real life. So here are 3 actionable steps you can take as parents. Number 1, encourage real life role models. Talk to your kids about people in their life they admire and create opportunities for them to spend time with mentors like coaches, teachers, and relatives. Promote critical thinking about social media. That's number 2. Ask your child about the influencers they follow and discuss whether those behaviors work in real life. Help them think critically about what they see online. And number 3, foster team activities. Get your child involved in sports or clubs where they can build teamwork, social skills, and learn from real world experience. To wrap things up here, so in today's digital age, our children face unique challenges that affect their growth, relationships, and social learning. As Jonathan Haidt emphasizes, free play, attunement, and social learning in the real world are essential for a child's development, yet these are increasingly disrupted by the rise of smartphones, social media, and virtual influences. While it can feel overwhelming to compete with the pull of digital platforms, the key for parents is to stay engaged, proactive, and intentional. By encouraging real-world experiences, fostering meaningful connections, and guiding children towards healthy role models, we can help them navigate these challenges and thrive. And we're not rejecting technology, but finding a balance, teaching our kids that the most valuable lessons and relationships often come from face-to-face interactions and real-world experiences. Every step, no matter how small, toward connection and growth, make a big difference in helping our children become resilient, confident, and well-rounded individuals. Till our next book club, keep parenting with purpose.